Did Keir Starmer's attempt to save billions with a new policy actually end up costing more? Today, we'll dive deep into one of the most controversial moves in British politics, its shocking consequences, and what this means for the country moving forward. The Labour Party, led by Keir Starmer, thought they had the perfect plan. Faced with a staggering £22 billion hole in the national budget, they introduced a policy aimed at cutting back on the winter fuel allowance. This essential payment, given to pensioners to help them afford heating during the cold months, was placed squarely on the chopping block. The logic behind it? By tightening the eligibility rules and reserving the payment only for pensioners on pension credit or specific means-tested benefits, Labour hoped to save the government a hefty £1.4 billion. On paper, it seemed like a calculated move to ease the financial burden left by the previous government. But as we'll see, this plan quickly began to unravel. What Labour didn't foresee was a massive, unexpected backlash from the very people it was targeting. The plan and the backlash? Let's rewind for a moment. Labour, confident in their strategy, estimated that out of the 10.8 million pensioners in the UK, only 1.5 million would still qualify for the winter fuel allowance under the new rules. Those who didn't meet the strict criteria, meaning those not receiving pension credit, would be left out in the cold, quite literally. Yet something surprising happened. Almost immediately after the policy change was announced, the number of pensioners applying for pension credit skyrocketed. In fact, new analysis revealed a staggering 152% increase in applications. Pensioners who were previously unaware of their eligibility or hadn't applied for pension credit suddenly rushed to claim it. For them, this was their ticket to securing not just the winter fuel allowance, but also a range of other essential benefits. The hidden loophole: pension credit applications. Surge. You might be wondering, why such a massive surge in applications? It turns out, many pensioners either didn't know they were eligible for pension credit or hadn't bothered to apply before. But when the new policy linked their winter heating payments to this benefit, everything changed. Suddenly, there was a massive incentive to check eligibility and apply. Labour had unknowingly opened a loophole. Instead of saving the projected £1.4 billion, they were now looking at the additional costs of paying out more in pension credit benefits. And remember that £700 million they hoped to save. That money has now turned into additional costs, thanks to the surge in pensioners qualifying for pension credit. Labour's attempt to solve one problem had created another, and instead of patching the hole in the budget, they were now facing an even bigger challenge. What this means for pensioners on the surface, this appears to be a failure of the Labour Party's strategy. But for pensioners, there's a silver lining. By applying for pension credit, thousands of pensioners are now gaining access to additional financial support they didn't realize they were entitled to before. Not only does this mean they will still receive their winter fuel allowance, but they'll also qualify for other essential benefits, like reduced council tax and free TV licenses. For pensioners, this loophole could mean the difference between struggling through the winter or staying warm and financially secure. Many advocacy groups have stepped up to help elderly citizens navigate the application process, and the message is clear. If you think you qualify for pension credit, apply now. The bigger picture, Labour's miscalculation, has left the government scrambling to manage this growing cost. With the increase in pension credit applications, the savings they were banking on have evaporated, and the backlash from pensioners has been swift. Many feel abandoned, accusing Labour of turning their backs on the elderly during one of the hardest financial periods in recent memory. But Labour isn't backing down. Despite the criticism and the unexpected financial fallout, they're standing by their decision, claiming it was necessary to balance the books. They've doubled down, arguing that long-term savings are still possible through other areas of the budget, even as they grapple with the unanticipated surge in benefit claims. This entire saga serves as a cautionary tale for policymakers. The intricacies of public welfare systems are complex, and small changes can have unforeseen ripple effects. In this case, a seemingly straightforward move to cut costs by narrowing eligibility for the winter fuel allowance has now backfired in a spectacular way. In other news, meanwhile, there's been unsettling news from around the country. In Hampshire, a 13-year-old girl became the youngest individual convicted over the summer riots, making headlines for her involvement in a violent protest outside a migrant hotel. The scene was chaotic, with a large crowd gathered in front of the hotel, which had been housing refugees. The girl, encouraged by the mob, was seen kicking and hitting the hotel doors, a shocking moment captured on police body cam footage. Though no damage was caused, the judge, recognizing her young age, handed her a 12-month referral order instead of jail time. Her story, while brief in comparison to the wider unrest across the country, highlights the broader tension simmering across Britain. Conclusion. So, what do we take from all of this? Keir Starmer's plan to cut the winter fuel allowance may have started with good intentions, but the consequences have been far from what Labour expected. As pensioners rally to claim their benefits and the government scrambles to cover costs, this policy could end up being one of the most controversial in recent memory. But what are your thoughts? Should the Labour Party have handled this differently? Or was this just an inevitable consequence of trying to fix the budget? Let me know down in the comments. And if you found this video informative, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the latest news. Stay tuned for more incredible content. And as always, thank you for watching.